Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and I will also at the same time say good morning depending on your location. As for my sake, I'm in Africa, and according to my time, it is reading 10:54 p.m. That's why I'm saying good evening. For the sake of those in Asia and some other places where by the time right now will be morning, allow me also tell you good morning. My name is Lasper Simon, and I'm here this evening to I am here to teach us about ways of networking. Networking is very wide, but I want just to go as slow by beginning by the basics in networking, that is more so in configuration. So many people know about networking, but they don't have knowledge about configuration. So at this moment, I just want to go direct to configurations, and I'm gonna use a packet tracer. I will advise whoever is there to use GNS Array or packet tracer has a virtual environment to learn networking, because these give us skills that we really require. Once you have found this, you can go ahead and you can practice. You find yourself interacting with real machines and things work out for you. This evening, I want us to study more about configuring a DHCP server using a router. We know that we can have a DHCP server on its own, but also in some cases, most of making in small offices, we can use a router as a DHCP server. At this moment, I'll pick this router, I put it here, then I pick my switch. That will help me to increase on the number of computers. Then I pick my computers and put them somewhere there. I'm just going to pick a few, but being a DHCP server, we can give it allowance to add more computers depending on the space that will be available in our office. From here, we have to understand the cable that we use. When you're connecting different devices, you're gonna connect that is a straight through cable, then the same device that is crossover. But according to this network, we shall all be using crossover cable, a router through this interface, a switch, and that is the first port, first Ethernet 0/1. The same here. This one having one interface today. Hope you're getting what I'm doing. You cannot connect a computer to a computer if you are to connect in large computers, large environment, because remember, we have only one Ethernet port for some computers, and you can't connect more than one. That's why a switch gives us a better provision for something better. As you can see, this is my last. So what we want is DHCP. DHCP in full is a dynamic host control protocol. Yes, dynamic host control protocol. What's its purpose? Its purpose is to issue IP addresses automatically to the computers. However, we're also given provision to reserve some. We can say from this range to this range of an IP address, we need to be reserved. The rest should be given to computers. So once we take a computer from here, or once we bring in more computers, they will automatically acquire the IP addresses. Remember, this one, the DHCP is different from static. Static, you yourself to manually give computers the IP addresses, while dynamic or DHCP, the computers automatically get the IP address from the server. At this moment, we're using a router as our DHCP server. the button you click, we need to begin configuring. Command line. We shall say here no, and we press enter. You say enable. From enable, you take it into configuration mode. That is, you can say configure terminal, and you are now in the configuration mode, whereby you state with the host name. We can begin with the host name. I can say Jimmy network. I can say Jimmy network, or sorry, host name. This is Jimmy network. You can see at first the name was a router, but after giving it a first name Jimmy network, it is what came here. You can see here that this is Jimmy network. So from here, you have to understand that when there's some basics that we need to about security, setting password, and so on, but specifically here I'm focusing at DHCP server, making a router a DHCP server. So viewers, please concentrate on this. I'm not going into the other. Maybe it will come as time moves on, but as for now, I'm just showing us how to make a DHCP server from a router. We can come here and say this is the host name. Then we shall have to understand the interface. Which interface are we having? When we come over here, we shall find that this is interface what? Interface G0/0/0. That is what we shall have. Go to here and we shall say interface G, that is 0/0/0. From there we have to set an IP address for this interface. We shall say an IP address. Let me give it 192.168. Let me give it 1. Let me give it .10.1. This is for that interface. Oh, it is incomplete. We also have to set a subnet mask. The subnet mask here will be this .0. So you can see that we have the IP address and we have the subnet mask. After setting the interface and giving an IP address to that interface, then we have to make sure that that interface goes up. In other words, it becomes activated by putting a command of no shutdown. You can read here, they are telling you the protocol interface. This interface here, change it to up. From there, we have now our IP address to that interface, and we're gonna use that very interface to now begin supply IP addresses, other IP addresses. So we are now going into configuring a DHCP server. What we have so far done is just configuring an interface. So what do we do? From here, we have to create a DHCP server. We say IP DHCP. Cisco device is very good because it gives you a question mark whereby you can use it, or you can't create a DHCP under interface. You create it under the router itself. You first move out of this by saying exit, then you say IP DHCP. You can use a question mark, and from there you now set. Remember, this is the interface. This is the IP address. This is the IP address. You now set. You can say exclude. We are choosing from this excluded address. You can say I want to reserve. This is why this is a command show that you want to reserve. I want to reserve this 168. 10.1 10.1 to 192.168.10.50. That means that you don't want to give out, you don't want this server to give out IP address from 1 to 50. You can see that already 1, it should be a static because we've already given it to that interface. We don't want to get confused with interfaces changing the IP address. It might give us a hard time, and there might be hectic in the department once the server goes down and everything is disturbed. So with that, you say enter, and after that we have to create a DHCP pool. That's an IP DHCP pool. It's a question mark, and this will tell you what pool name. You can give it a pool name. You can say Jimmy. Maybe you can say lab 4. Lab 4. Okay, that's the name. So here you can put a question mark and you see what it requires. First of all, it will require a default router and it will require network. More so when you're dealing with DHCP server, configuring from a router, you have to put a default router and you have to put a network. Default, you can just say diff and the tab key, the rest will come in, and you give in, but it is advisable you give the IP address that related to the what? Related, similar to the interface .1. I think then network this is network 190.10.0. Here you have to put the subnet mask. After putting the default router and putting in the network, what else do we need? We say exit. After saying exit, let us check from here. We go to this and configure it to make sure that it is under. DHCP. You can see here the default gate. You can see well it reserved IP address from 1 to 50, so it has given this 51, and what we considered as the default router or the default gateway is already here. It counts automatically. Okay, so this is also what happens to this. If you are getting DHCP is all about getting IP addresses automatically. So once you add in a computer here, there's no need for you to again sit down and begin tracing which IP address to give it. No, it will automatically acquire the DHCP. It will automatically acquire the IP address, and you find that DHCP is so important in organizations that have got so many computers. It is very hard for a system administrator to move from one computer to another, issuing them with the IP addresses. Imagine if you are working in a company and this company has got over 5,000 computers. Will you be moving to each computer to put in the IP address? The other thing is that you might even get stressed up and you end up mixing and overlapping IP addresses. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is part of the DHCP and CP. However, this I've just dealt with one interface. In the next video, I'm going to add in another interface on the other hand, and you see how the whole stuff works. Thank you for watching. God bless you, and be part of this. Learn more. Subscribe when I get to post this. Please be part of it. Subscribe, and you will learn more and more.